Widescreen programme from the National Theatre in London.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ben Kingsley.
And welcome to the National Film Theatre for this inaugural Lifetime Achievement Tribute. Tonight, the British Academy of Film and Television Arts and the BBC honour a remarkable man of the cinema and celebrate a continuing screen career which stretches back nearly 60 years. Years in which he has been and remains a brilliant actor, a daring producer, a visionary director, and the unfailing champion of our film industry. Please welcome Richard Attenborough. How to describe Richard Attenborough? Well, the Leicester Mercury had a good go in August 1942, as it marked the early success of the local boy made good. He has the same friendly, unassuming manner which made him so popular in the Scouts. And he still takes the same size in hats. That remains true today, and he does wear a huge number of hats for. Beyond filmmaking, his characteristic commitment has made an impact in countless spheres of public life in Britain and abroad. He believes in making a difference.
Every little step he takes. One thrilling combination, every move that he makes. One smile and suddenly nobody else will do. You know you'll never be lonely with you. No one moment in his presence, and you can forget the rest. For the guy is second best to none. Son, ooh, son, give him your attention. Do I really have to mention he's the one?
Ladies and gentlemen, Kenneth Branagh.
Thank you, and good evening. It's a great privilege to be here, sir. Tonight, we honour Richard Attenborough's immense contribution to the cinema on both sides of the camera. Had he confined himself to his first calling, acting, his significance in the story of British cinema would still be enormous. It's a mark of his enduring appeal that he has shared the screen with everyone, from Noel Coward to Eric Cantona. Along the way, his work has exhibited an honesty, range, and naturalism, not forgetting a basic commitment to the craft of screen acting, which have put all those who follow him in his debt. And as this selection of just some of his many memorable performances demonstrates, the scale of that debt is huge indeed.
You can find me there if you want to, Pinky. You're always welcome, Pinky. Don't do anything, Pinky. All right, Spicy. Goodbye. Ah! Ah! What is it? What is it? Good God.
These banisters will need amending for a long while.
Dean, what you're trying to tell me is that I'm never going to make a flyer, hmm?
Oh, no, you'll make a flyer, all right, but, you won't make a pilot.
I only want to be a pilot.
There are other things.
I don't care about other things.
Here! Where do you think you're going? On strike, Governor. On strike? What you on strike for?
In sympathy with missiles.
Sympathy? What about a bit of sympathy from me?
Excuse me, Mr.
Ah, shut up!
You're very busy deciding anybody else's future, Lexi. What do you intend to do?
Well, after I've settled all the outstanding maintenance orders, look, I'm not kidding. I was a fair operator without money. Now I'm loaded. I'll have to beat them off with clubs.
I was toying with the idea of translating Kafka into Welsh, but how do you translate his values?
Darling, stop being brilliant for just 1 second and meet a late arrival. Gareth? This is Mr.
Yes, I know. The original white-collar slave. How are you, Louis? Still peddling trash to the masses?
Yes, that's right, yes. How about you? Still writing it?
You seem to have gained control of this battalion by an act of mutiny. Very well. You're entitled to the mess servants because they're your countrymen, not mine. You're entitled to the mess property because it stands on your soil. But if you think for one moment that I'm going to hand over the lives of these people to the custody of a half-cooked, jumped-up, sad little blackboard warrior like yourself, you're very much mistaken.
You put the mask over your face, lean your head back, lean right back, shut your eyes, close your eyes, that's it. Shut your eyes, now then. Start your breathing then, breathe quite deeply. Breathe, breathe.
Smells a bit funny, Mr. Christie.
Yes. Do you feel a bit dizzy?
I do a bit.
Yes, well, that's all the goodness taking effect. Breathe, Muriel. Breathe. No, Muriel. No. Breathe, Muriel. No. Breathe. Muriel?
Secrets, madam? You have no secrets. The world knows that Lord Robert visits your chambers at night and that you fornicate with him. It's even said that you already carry his child.
Yes, Sir William, I live my life in the open. I am surrounded by people. I do not understand how so bad a judgment has been formed of me.
Madam, you cannot marry Lord Robert. He's already married.
Please welcome the BAFTA award-winning star of Elizabeth, Kate Blanchett.
Good evening. Anyone who has worked with Richard Attenborough, and I am privileged to be one, will tell you that he is fundamentally and delightfully British. But the qualities he has brought to his work have had a global appeal. His talent as a performer have been sought by such great directors as Robert Wise, Sajid Ray and Steven Spielberg. This work has taken Richard around the globe, gaining him not only the appreciation of international audiences, but also the opportunity to work with some of cinema's greatest names.
All right. Let's suppose you have killed 5 men. And if it gives you any sort of satisfaction to sit up here feeling sorry for yourself, well, that's fine. But if you really mean that it is all your fault, then it's up to you to bloody well get us out of here, isn't it? And if you're not too proud to talk to Dorfman, and you're half the pilot you think you are, well, maybe you will. If, all right, if you hadn't made a career out of being a drunk, you might not have been a second-rate navigator in a fifth-rate outfit. And if you hadn't stayed in your bunk to kill that last bottle, you might have checked that engineer's report on the radio, and we might not be here. All right?
We're mixing our lives together, Mealy. We'll never be able to unmix them again. And we'll never want to. I take you for what you are, and all that you are, and mix you with all of me. And I don't hold back nothing. When you're cold and hungry and afraid, so am I. I'm going to stay with you all I can. And take the best care of you I can. And love you till I die.
His Majesty shall have a maximum of 3 days for deliberation.
इस मसले पर गौर फरमाने के लिए सुल्तान आलम को ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा 3 दिन की मोहलत मिलेगी.
After which the company will assume the administration of Oud.
बाद इस मुद्दत के कंपनी बहादुर अवध का सारा इंतजाम अपने हाथ में ले लेगी.
I hope the king has understood what I've said.
हमने जो कुछ कहा है, उम्मीद है सुल्तान आलम समझ गए होंगे.
How fast are they? Well, we clocked the T-Rex at 32 miles an hour.
T-Rex?
Mm-hmm.
You said you've got a T-Rex?
Uh-huh. Say again. We have a T-Rex.
Put your head between your knees.
Dr. Grant, my dear Dr. Sattler, welcome to Jurassic Park.
Now, there's a generation of us which holds one of Richard's international films particularly dear. We watched it every Christmas day on television. We could recite the dialogue. We willed Gordon Jackson not to say thank you when getting on the bus. It is, of course, The Great Escape.
Does it work?
Of course it works.
Will it give us enough air?
Twice as much as you need.
Mac? Excellent. Have it in by tomorrow night.
Please welcome from a classic film and this year's Academy Award winner for Best Supporting Actor, James Coburn.
Yeah, well, I remember it was like a kind of rainy August evening in Munich. Geiselgasteg studio, soundstage. A bunch of actors got together, British, German, American, around a wonderful director, John Sturges. And we were able to make a film called The Great Escape. Now, we didn't know each other, so we kind of wandered around looking at everything, seeing it was very weird listening to all the British actors call each other darling. But we did get it together, and we made quite a good little film, I think. It's become kind of a classic, would you say, Richard? Well, the thing I remember most about that film is having my conversations with Richard in between the takes. He turned me on to so many things, and I've never had a chance to thank you. Thank you for this. He told me that the Judy Palm had all of these great impressionists, and I must go see it. It's in Paris. It's right at the end of the Tuileries. I said, well, okay. He said, but what you must see is all of the Van Goghs at the top of the stairs going up to the second floor. They are just filled with the light of Van Gogh, and he'll just melt your heart. And indeed, I spent a lot of time in the Jeu de Paume that winter. And thank you for all of these great impressions, and congratulations on your lifetime of achievements. Acting, directing, producing, writing, all your charity work, the work with all the arts, and teaching me how to see. Thank you very much, Richard. Now I think we're going to see a little bit of Big X. Big X in The Great Escape.
We're going to devote our energies to sports and gardening, all the cultural pursuits as far as they're concerned. In fact, we're going to put the goons to sleep. Meanwhile, we dig. Interesting idea. How many are you taking out? 250. 250? Yeah.
Hold on to yourself, Bartlett. You're 20 feet short.
What do you mean, 20 feet short?
You're 20 feet short of the woods. The hole is right here in the open. The guard is between us and the lights.
Eh bien, passez. Si. Au revoir, monsieur. What? Au revoir. Good luck.
Thank you.
You know, Meg, all this, the organization, tunneling, Tom and Harry, kept me alive. And even though I've never been happier. You know, Meg,
actors who've worked for Richard Attenborough know that this is a desperately serious, emotionally wearing, utterly draining experience under a director who never displays the slightest flicker of emotion. Bringing us his considered reflections on the intensity demanded of any performer in the crucible of an Attenborough set is the actor who has appeared in 5 of his films, from Young Wisdom to Shadowlands, Sir Anthony Hopkins.
I said, just like that. I said to my wife the other night, I said, I'm feeling homesick. She said to me, but you are at home. I said, I know, I'm sick of it. So I went to the doctor the next day. No, it was the day after. I went to the doctor. He looked at me, he said, get up on the table. I said, what for? He said, I want to sweep up. She said, you're a nice man, Dick. You're very funny, a lot of fun. You've got to have a laugh. If you don't have a laugh, you may as well be dead. And tell all that other lot there not to take themselves seriously. It's only acting. It's only a film. Nice to see you. Nice. Ta-da. Just like that. Thank you very much.
Grimmett tells me that you objected to the founder's ceremony. Is that so?
Yes.
Why?
Because I thought it was silly.
What right have you to judge our customs here? Their object is to knock any cockiness out of a new boy and put him on his proper level. Did you know that Henry VIII founded this school?
Yes, sir.
Well, isn't that a good enough reason for paying your respects?
That's not why they make you do it.
Oh?
No, they just want you to bend down so they can kick you up the arse.
Tell me, Santa, how does one guy get to every house around the world in one night?
Yes, well, now that is a vexing question, isn't it? But you see, if you could slow time down so that a second became a year, a minute became a century, and an hour became a millennium, and you could manage it quite easily, couldn't you? Mind you, I remember before, well, 100 years ago, before the population explosion, I could manage to deliver all my goods and have enough time left over for a late supper, a nap, and a round of golf with the Easter Bunny. He winters in New Zealand, you know.
May I suggest, sir, that you keep out of this? This is strictly police business.
Oh, tell him to show you his badge.
Rexel, I said outside. Now, come on.
That cuts it. Sorry. What's the idea?
Well, who the hell started it? Awfully sorry.
Open your eyes, what do you see? This thing's a miracle for you and me. Guarantee. I agree Within a meager month I've seen my wildest dreams come true, 'cause I've never seen anything like it, nor have you. Oh, I've never seen anything like it, never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it in all my life.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of BAFTA, David Putnam.
Thank you very much. Good evening. I've never seen anything like him in my life either. Just one of Dickie's many, many admirable qualities, and perhaps the most conspicuous, is his quite extraordinary enthusiasm. Through his membership of the British Film Institute, of BAFTA, and any number of other industry bodies, as well as his own productions, he's been a tireless advocate of filmmaking here in Britain. When at the end of the 1950s he found that just about every single role that was offered to him was, in his own words, either a manic depressive or a panicky sailor on the lower decks of Her Majesty's Navy, did Dick sulk and leave for Hollywood? Did he hell? In partnership with his friend Brian Forbes, he set up Beaver Films, and between them they made some of the most gritty and adventurous British films of that or any other era. Their first project, The Angry Silence, set the tone for a whole series of pictures which were utterly contemporary, socially engaged, and at the time thoroughly innovative. Richard Attenborough is a great screen actor and a fine director. The output of Beaver Films showed him to be also no mean producer, I'm sorry to say.
I joined your bloody strike, so you won. So what else do you want to say?
I'm not saying anything, one way or another. But what you want to remember in future, you or any other blackleg, is that you won't always get off this easy. We've got ways, mate, we've got ways. And I don't just mean broken windows.
You got what?
Let's leave it
Now,
at
look,
that.
I'd like to hear. You got ways of what?
I'm just telling you for your own...
What are you telling me? Don't give me that lip, mate. Not here. I pay the rent here. You're very generous with your advice these days, aren't you?
Tom!
Real generous.
Tom, please,
Keep out of
please.
it, Annie. Just keep out of it. Come round here laying down the law. Well, it happens you're not the law, Mr. God Almighty Connolly, mate. And I'll decide whether I go back or not. Not because you tell me, because I decide, see?
Why are you helping me?
Because we love you. Oh, I forgot. I brought you this.
What is it?
It's a picture of you. Of course, it was taken a long time ago. Oh, and don't worry about the other thing. We won't let the grown-ups find you. You're quite safe with us. Quite safe with us.
Myra. Arthur didn't say anything. You said it. It was you. It's what you've been thinking.
Didn't say it.
It's you. It's all you.
Of course he said it.
Arthur doesn't exist. He's never existed. He was dead. He didn't live. He was dead, man. He was born dead. You never saw him. I was the only one who saw him. They wouldn't let you see him. It's you, Myra. It's always been you.
No.
Yes, it has. It's what you want. No. Yes, this last thing was you. You thought of it. You're the one who wanted her to die. You thought of it. It's only in your mind.
That's not true. You mustn't say that. That is not true.
Arthur is dead.
It's hardly surprising that I and just about everyone else of my generation was so totally in awe, Dick, of the breadth of your talent. Please welcome the man who was crucial to the success of all those early films as writer or director, Richard Attenborough's partner in Beaver Films, Brian Forbes.
Well, my friendship with Dickie spans over half a century.
And when we formed Beaver Films, we were both just actors. Dickie was the perennial optimist always, and very often I was the voice of doom. We hawked the angry silence up and down Water Street, which is shady on both sides, as you know, and without any success, sold our cars, mortgaged our houses, and then one day Dickie came to me and said, well, the good news is that the Bolting brothers have said yes. And the bad news is that we're making it for no salary. And because we had to cut every single corner, most of Dickie's performance in Angry Silence and Seance at a Wet Afternoon was played out on an empty stage with me just behind the camera. I fed him his cues and gave him some inspired directions, such as squeeze your eyes up more, now look anguished, now your sad look, and so forth. It's a technique I don't recommend unless you've got a very good actor in front of the camera. He's always been an extraordinary character, not the lovey of tabloid legend, but somebody who's fought his own corner with tireless enthusiasm, and in so doing has fashioned a quite unique career. And the times when we worked together were the best and brightest of years, Dickie. So, my dear friend, I salute you for what you richly deserve, and I'm very happy the accolade has been bestowed upon you tonight.
By the mid-1970s, Richard Attenborough was an established director with 2 major pictures to his credit. Then there came a massive challenge, deploying a huge cast, 14 international stars, to tell the epic story of a heroic but unsuccessful Allied operation in Arnhem in 1944, when 35,000 troops were dropped behind enemy lines in an attempt to seize the bridges over the Rhine and shorten the war by months. It proved to be a bridge too far.
Stay down!
Don't shove, don't shove.
Shit. Ladies and gentlemen, from A Bridge Too Far, Elliot Gould.
Well, working on A Bridge Too Far, I realized that Richard Attenborough was my kind of director. When I explained very sensitively that I couldn't act and drive a Jeep with manual gears at the same time, he let me have a driver. Now, this was the first time I was called a big girl's blouse, which that's quite a compliment here, isn't it? Working with Richard is an education. When I finished my assignment in Holland, I came back here to London and got a lovely gold watch, which I inscribed to my son Jason, the year of his birth. There is No bridge too far. Love, Dad. Richard, thank you for the lesson.
One morning in 1962, Richard Attenborough was woken by a phone call which was to change his life and that of many other people. An Indian civil servant named Motilal Kothari suggested he should make a film on the life of Mahatma Gandhi. The journey on which Richard Attenborough set off that morning was long, tortuous, but ultimately triumphant, bringing 8 Academy Awards, including that for Best Picture and Best Director. Here, 2 of the American stars who were part of the film's success recall their experience in bringing Richard's vision to the screen and to the world.
Dickie and I first met in what was then Formosa and is now Taiwan. We were making the Sand Pebbles together for Robert Wise. He would talk to me with incredible passion and excitement about a film that he wanted to make, which was Gandhi. And he asked me if I would consider playing the cameo part of Margaret Bourke-White in Gandhi. So I said, yes, I would love to do Gandhi with you. Just call me and I'll be there. When I said that, I was 19, and I showed up on location in Bombay, and I was 35.
I think he would have waited 50 years. And it was such a personal statement.
I've never seen such stiff upper lips as I have on the British crew on Gandhi.
It's a credit to him that that crew remained pretty much intact from start to finish. And I think a lot of the motivation behind it was the spirit of Richard Attenborough.
It was more stress on a grander scale than I've ever seen. If he was shooting by day, he was raising the rest of the money by night.
Ben and Richard were like brothers during the filming. And I think in large measure that Ben's performance is a reflection of Richard in a lot of deeply personal ways.
Well, he would certainly say that it was a communal success and a group effort, but it would never have been made if it hadn't been Dickie.
I can't even imagine anyone else making that film.
We were shooting in Pune. I was in the lobby of the hotel, and the desk clerk said to me, what kind of movie is it that you're making here? And I said, well, it's a movie about the life of Gandhi. And he said, oh, really? He said, is there any singing or dancing in this movie? I said, well, no, there's really not. And he said, and are you thinking that anyone's going to be wanting to see a movie like that? I said, I hope so.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gandhi.
What is it?
Sora was sent to tell me I must rake and cover the latrine.
That's right. Everyone takes their turn.
It is the work of untouchables.
In this place, there are no untouchables, and no work is beneath any of us.
I'm your wife.
All the more reason.
As you command. The others may follow you, but you forget. I knew you when you were a boy.
It's not me. It's the principle. And you will do it with joy or not do it at all.
Not at all, then.
All right, then go. You don't belong here. Go. Leave the ashram. Get out. Altogether, we don't want you.
Have you no shame? I'm your wife. Where do you expect me to go?
What's the matter with me?
You are human. Only human. And it's even harder for those of us who do not even want to be as good as you do.
I apologize. I must get back to that reporter.
And I must rake and cover the latrine.
From Cry Freedom and Chaplin, John Thorpe.
Richard Attenborough doesn't make easy movies. He tackles big, important subjects, as he did with the first film on which I was lucky enough to work for him. The story of two men's struggle against apartheid. Cry Freedom. His special skill is to tell major, complex stories in very human terms, in this case through the friendship between the black consciousness leader, Steve Biko, and the liberal white journalist, Donald Woods, who came to regret his belief that the South African government of the time might listen to reason.
But what I've really come about is an incident that occurred at a sort of community center Biko was trying to put together. The place was smashed up the other night.
Yeah, I know about that. My police are investigating.
Your police are the ones who did it.
What makes you say that?
An eyewitness saw a security police captain and some of his men smashing the place up.
Will he testify?
He's afraid to. But I felt it would be more effective in any case if you took some action internally. You've always stated you're against any illegality by your officers.
My God, I am. I appreciate your attitude, Mr. Woods. I assure you, this is something I'll pursue. I want no thugs in my department. Don't be surprised. We're not really the monsters we're sometimes made out to be.
Ladies and gentlemen, the star of Cry Freedom, Kevin Kline.
I have to comment. When I heard that introduction, the star of Cry Freedom, Denzel Washington was also in it. But I think he's working right now. You couldn't be here. Alas, I'm not working and could be here. And I'm delighted. When I first met Dickie, I didn't know how to address him. And I said, Sir, how should I address you? Is it Sir Richard or Sir or Dickie or Dick or Richard or Ricky Baby or what do I say? And he said, well, darling, you must call me Richard or Dickie or just hey you. And I did. And about a year after the film was completed, I was tooling around in the south of France, and I pulled in for some petrol, as you all call it, and there, gassing up his car, petroling up his car, was Dickie. And I got out of my car, and his back was to me, and I said, Dickie, Dickie, Dickie. Nothing. I said, Sir Richard. He turned right around. So I know what to call him in France. You know, among actors, there's an expression. It is unique to actors when describing what is special or truly great about a role that they're about to play. They might say something like, I get to rescue a baby from a burning building, or I get to find a cure for polio, or I get to make love to Meryl Streep. But the real clincher, what immediately elevates any role to potential Oscar caliber is, and I get to die. Now, I didn't get to die in Cry Freedom. Denzel Washington did. And incidentally, he was nominated for an Oscar. And I'm not bitter. But my point is this. That such fatuous, cynical, and solipsistic sentiments would be completely out of place regarding a film such as Cry Freedom. I was thrilled to be a part of it. It is a rare and wonderful thing to be in a film that is about something important, but it is indeed a privilege to be part of a film that is about something not only important, but something crucial and timely. And I thank you, Dickie, for that privilege.
I hate the system, but I welcome all South Africans who join with us today in mourning the man who gave us all faith in the kind of country South Africa could be. The kind of country South Africa will be when all men are judged as human beings, as equal members of God's family. And towards this day, when the isolation that creates hostility becomes the closeness that permits friendship and love, let us all join in the song of Africa that Steve Biko cherished as we do.
Kosikeleli Afrika, malupagamisu pondolwayo, ifailitanazo yetu,
Do you understand the words?
Yeah, it's, God bless Africa, raise up her name. Hear our prayers and bless us.
I'll never forget the image of Dickie screaming at 6,000 extras not to look in the camera that day, that week. Of course, I was only an actor involved in recreating those experiences. Please welcome the man who lived them, Donald Woods.
With Richard Attenborough, you get more than you see, because he's much more than an actor, director, and producer. He's a political activist, committed to social change, to the improvement of the human condition all over the world, all over the universe. He also happens to be a filmmaker, among other things. When we were filming near the South African border, the apartheid government threatened to attack our units and bomb our sets. And I could see that far from intimidating him, such threats actually spurred him on, because he's a lion in sheep's clothing. One day, my wife Wendy and I asked him if he would mind us taking a day off from the set, as we weren't used to the long hours film people worked. And as production was advanced and we felt the actors needed less monitoring as to accents and so forth, actually, Kevin, after 5 minutes, could do my accent better than I could. And so we put this naive question to Dickie, could we have the day off? And his response was absolutely terrifying. He put an affectionate hand on each of our shoulders, magnified his eyes behind the lenses, and he said warmly, "Darlings, that's entirely up to you." Wendy and I looked at each other, shuddered, and decided not to take the day off.
Actors clamour to work with and for Richard Attenborough. Here are some who've had that good fortune, and they explain his attraction for them.
He's just very friendly, just completely approachable, and put me at ease immediately.
Robustly funny.
He's one of those disgusting people who seem so nice, and when you really get at them, they are.
I felt that, along with the thousands of other people who have met him, that he would be my best and fastest friend for the rest of my life.
He's really a nurturing person who creates an environment where it's so much fun for everybody. That was the memory I'll take from Chorus Line.
You can't tell about pressure on Dickie.
Dickie never alters.
I've never seen anyone on the set that commands the respect that he gets. You know, people are very quiet and go about their business and would do anything for him. And you realize the reason they do this is because he would do anything for them.
He's always hugging people. He has that disgusting hugging thing and all that stuff. It's very cheery. It's a chipper, cheery place. And he's always walking around and saying, he says insane things. He'll see you, oh, darling, I've never been so anxious to see anybody in my whole life. And then he hugs you. And you saw him last night.
Richard probably has the most pleasant, loveliest personality and the most patient man. And I remember will show patience beyond belief. But when he goes, he goes.
I think he's definitely an actor's director because he's an actor himself. You know, he can really, I think a lot of times directors have trouble because they can't really put themselves in your shoes. He knows the insecurities that actors have.
He never made me feel like I was extraneous, which I really was.
And of course you follow him anywhere because he always prefaces it with, "Darling girl, could you?"
Dickie's such an experienced and great movie actor. He knows the problems of what you're doing, but he also knows when you're not doing it right, which is kind of important.
If Richard wanted you to do something in a different way, in his always gentle manner, he would approach you, and if that didn't work, he would offer you a piece of Tuborg chocolate. If that didn't work, I think you were in danger of being fired.
I'd say it's very difficult to say no to Richard because rejection brings tears to his eyes, and we don't like to see that.
We were making out in some scene or something, and Richard, he goes, "No, I want it to be," and he just kind of grabbed his arm and started making out with his arm. And Sandra and I could barely keep a straight, we didn't keep a straight face because, you know, we've got Richard Attenborough kissing his arm, showing us exactly how he wanted this kiss to look.
He put his arm in and said, "Listen, darling, don't you think that in that bit there, he should have been a bit more, or this, or a bit less, you know?" And you go, "What a great idea." He said, I knew you'd thought that." He makes you think you thought of it. He's very clever, you know.
He loves his work, he loves people, loves his relationships, he loves his family.
One of the things I love best about Dickie, and that is reflected in his work, is his fierce political commitment.
He seems to be the chairman of everything I've ever belonged to.
It is not by accident that he played Santa Claus in the movie. He tends to be cherubic and round, and people wonder where the energy comes from. He should look like Henry Fonda, because that's the energy that he has.
I think it helps to have a big idea that you're passionate about. I mean, if you're doing the life of Chaplin or if you're doing the life of Gandhi, you know, that's a movie that could be all-consuming.
I always kid him. I always tell him he's 101 years old. I say, "What are you, 101, 102? No, the man's got more energy than anybody. He's a pretty incredible guy, I have to say.
I dare say he will do many more films. I hope he does. But it would have to be something really extraordinary to top Gandhi.
And I too love Gandhi. I mean, Gandhi had a presence that was hard to find in a lot of movies at that time.
My favorite film of Attenborough's is not Gandhi. It's Oh, the Lovely War, which was his first film, which rocked me. I remember still how shocked I was. Oh, the Lovely War is one of the great first films. It's one of the great first films.
I think it's indicative of his talent that he can do great big movies like A Bridge Too Far, and then come back and do a sort of laser-like microscopic examination of people, as he did in Shadowlands. I thought that was a wonderful picture, and I think it's his best movie.
Richard Attenborough is a ruddy-faced smile on legs.
Richard Attenborough is sensitive.
Irresistible.
Witty.
Alive.
Old. Definitely.
Sweet smelling. Smells very good.
Generous.
Patient.
Inquisitive.
Optimistic.
And very, very clever. Please welcome the distinguished director and now chairman of the Film Council, Alan Parker.
If you let him, Richard Attenborough will try and tell you that he is not a great director.
don't let him, because he is. His enormous passion and huge talent. Not only that, he's brilliant at surrounding himself with people who share those attributes. Think of the many actors who have been given their first major opportunities thanks to his uncanny casting ability, and then with his help given landmark performances. Then, of course, he works with great writers such as Jack Briley, William Nicholson, outstanding composers, notably George Fenton, and the industry's leading technical talents. And they all come back, not only because he is inherently decent and discerning man, understands the values of their work, because they know that an Attenborough film is a guarantee of quality and integrity. Because for 30 years, he's shown commitment, ambition, daring, imagination to create a memorable and remarkable range of films with lasting resonance. Here's a reminder of just some of them.
I want it strong. Make it sharp. Take it on the downbeat. Ready, and 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right now, you gotta let me help you. I know a lot of people. Beautiful doctors.
He means head shrinkers. He just thinks you're a fruitcake.
He doesn't. He never said that. He's on our side.
He's the villain. Don't forget that. Never forget that.
Hey, kid. I'm gonna ask you to do something. It's a little something anybody ought to be able to do. Now, if you can do it, fine. We'll forget this whole thing. But if you can't, we'll think about getting you to see somebody fast. Is it a deal?
Name it.
Make Fat shut up for 5 minutes.
You are such a child. This was a stupid thing to do. When are you gonna grow up?
I couldn't leave without seeing you again.
Leave?
I'm on orders back to the States.
When?
I gotta catch a train tomorrow morning at 5:30.
They've called us, Ag.
I came to tell you that I love you. That I will love you forever.
Jesus.
You told him to get changed, remember?
What's he putting on, a suit of armor?
Chaplain! Chaplain! Get your ass onto the stage right now!
Dickie, all of us directors and the entire British film industry owe you a great, great debt. One film that's not featured here was Richard's favourite amongst the movies that he's directed, Shadowlands. To introduce it is Oscar-nominated star Deborah Winger.
What can I say about working with Richard Attenborough? First, I think I should clarify that when we started working together, he was Sir Richard. And somewhere during the course of shooting Shadowlands, he became Lord Attenborough. Now, although I can think of many reasons for this promotion, no one actually consulted with me. So I will just assume that he works his magic on others as well. I do remember, however, with awe, how he could run circles around me at the end of the day. I won't go into our age difference at this point. The time that I spent on the set and off with this exquisite man, I count among my few absolutely treasured moments in show business. The fact that the film stands as a tribute to his intelligence and insight is just icing. An actor only dreams of the kind of support and enthusiasm that Dickie brings every day towards both the individual work on character and to the text and the technical side of filmmaking. Bless his huge heart, his big, lovely family, and all the projects that are yet to come. I personally can't wait.
Please let me introduce you to Mrs. Joy Gresham, Professor Christopher Riley.
Professor Riley.
How do you do?
Pleasure.
What success have you had with your book?
Oh, well, to be honest, it's not ready to be seen yet.
Oh, you mustn't let that stop you, Mrs. Gresham. It doesn't stop Jack.
I'm sorry?
I am right in assuming you're from the United States of America.
Yes, I am.
Then perhaps you can satisfy my curiosity on a related matter. I had always understood Americans to be hard-riding, tough-talking, no-nonsense sort of people. Yet Jack tells me his children's stories sell very well there. Who can be buying them?
Well, Professor Riley, we're not all cowboys, you know. Have you read any of Jack's children's books?
Jack has read extracts aloud to me. It is one of his tests of friendship.
Well, I think they're rather magical.
Congratulations, Jack. You seem to have found a soulmate. I thought you believed we didn't have souls, Christopher. Well, yes. Now, I regard the soul as an essentially feminine accessory. Anima, quite different from animus, the male variant. This is how I explain the otherwise puzzling difference between the sexes. Where men have intellect, women have soul.
As you say, Professor Riley, I'm from the United States, and different cultures have different modes of discourse. I need a little guidance here. Are you trying to be offensive or just merely stupid?
As a boy in Leicester, Richard Attenborough queued for hours to hear an extraordinary man address a public meeting. And later, Diana Hawkins, his business partner and co-producer with whom he's worked for 42 years, suggested filming the story of that same extraordinary man, a native of Hastings who became a major international celebrity and one of the world's first environmental campaigners, whilst posing as a North American Indian called Grey Owl, played in Richard Attenborough's forthcoming film of the same name by Pierce Brosnan.
Dear Richard, I'm so sorry I can't be there tonight with all your wonderful friends and colleagues honoring your great achievements. But you know that I carry you in my heart, always will. I thank you for the opportunity of playing Grey Owl. It was a wonderful experience and something which I will never forget.
Archie! I can't go on. I have to catch my breath. Archie!
Don't move! Archie! Don't move! You make the hole bigger! Don't move! Don't move! Help me! Stay still. Look at me. Look at me, Pony. Don't struggle. Don't struggle. Stay right here. Stay with me, Pony. Grab this belt. Grab this belt. Pony. Grab it. Hold on. Don't move. Grab it.
I can't feel my leg. I can't feel my
Now we go full circle from Richard Attenborough's latest film to his very first in 1942, when he was cast by Noel Coward in a film telling the story of a Royal Navy destroyer which has become a classic, In Which We Serve.
I suppose in a way it's gratifying to feel that out of a ship's company of 244 men, 243 have behaved as I hoped and expected they would. One man, however, did not. That man has been brought before me charged with leaving his post without permission. I needn't tell you how serious an offense of this nature is in time of war, nor how drastic is the punishment that normally follows. You will be surprised, therefore, to learn that I have let him off with a caution. Or perhaps I should say with two cautions. One to him and one to me. For in a way, I feel that what happened was my fault.
As well as a great professional opportunity for Richard Attenborough, in which we serve, marked the beginning of his screen association with an actor whose own contribution to cinema has been immense and who remains one of his fastest friends. Please welcome the incomparable Sir John Mills.
I've had the pleasure and the joy and the privilege of acting with Dickie many, many times. It has always been an enormous pleasure, and we became close, close friends. Then something happened in '59 which had quite an effect on both our lives. I went to see a brilliant production by Joan Littlewood of Oh, What a Lovely War in the theatre with Len Dayton. And we loved it, and we all thought it might make a marvelous movie, very, very difficult, but could be made into a movie. Now, I knew that Dickie was dying to direct a picture. I knew it. We talked about it a lot. And I took the script down on a Saturday morning, just a draft script, gave it to him and said, now look, Dick, read it and tell me what you think. And I, quickly. So he called me Sunday morning and said, it's absolutely wonderful. And I've got to do it. Can I do it? I said, yes, it's yours. Talked to Len and fixed it up. And I've got to go to America. And he said, well, my God. So he was really very through. And very cleverly, he sent it to Larry Olivier, who said yes. Then, of course, everybody else said yes. So he got Sir Laurence Olivier, Sir Ralph Richardson, Sir John Clements, Sir John Gielgud, Jack Hawkins, Kenny Moore. He got everybody. And he turned in a magnificent job. And the way he handled that cast was simply marvelous. And he made a great debut and got the best notices for first director I think I've ever read. So it really did turn out very, very well. Well, Dickie, I hope I don't get too emotional, but I think you're allowed to be emotional when you're 91. And I just want to tell you, which I think you know, what the last 60 years have meant to me with your friendship and to my family. Well, you know how I feel. Many, many congratulations. It's been a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening, and I hope you go on forever. Thank you, and God bless you.
Robert Bertie went away to do his bit the other day, with a smile on his lips and his left and a blips upon his shoulder, bright and gay. As the train moved out, he said, remember me to all the birds. Then he wiped his paw and went away to war, shouting out these pathetic words. Goodbye, goodbye, wipe the tear, baby dear, from your eye. Though it's hard to part, I know. I'll be tickled to death to go. Don't cry, don't sigh. There's a silver lining in the sky. Bonsoir, old king, cheerio, chin chin, no, goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, wipe the tear, baby dear, from your eye. Though it's hard to part, I know. I'll be tickled to death to go. Don't cry, don't sigh. There's a silver lining in the sky. Bonsoir, old king, cheerio, chin chin, no.
For any professional, the ultimate accolade is the respect of one's peers. In Richard's case, this has come in the form of numerous and very prestigious awards, not least from the Academy, which honors him this evening. But even these cannot express the full measure of the affection in which he's held by his fellow filmmakers and the great admiration which they have for his work. Here to attempt to do so is Steven Spielberg.
Good evening, everybody. Lord Attenborough's BAFTA Lifetime Achievement Award is so very appropriate because my friend Dickie Attenborough has had a lifetime of achievements. He has enjoyed one of the longest and most distinguished journeys in the history of the cinema, and this is a journey with absolutely no end in sight. From a young able seaman reciting the Lord's Prayer in that doomed ship, to the portrait of a mass murderer, from David Lean and Noel Coward's 1942 In Which We Served, to one of the most distinguished careers as a producer, and then as one of the great filmmakers of our day, this Lifetime Achievement Award was made for him. And about time, too, if I might add. As an actor, it was one memorable performance after the next. Brighton Rock, in The Guinea Pig, and The Sand Pebbles, and in one of my all-time favorites, when he played Big X in The Great Escape, a film that put him on the charts in America. And let's also not forget Jurassic Park and the Lost World, where he made John Hammond a household name as he continued to conquer this country as well. And then in 1969, he moved into the next phase of an already extraordinary career when he directed his first film, a movie adaptation of a searing First World War musical show called Oh, What a Lovely War. On the face of it, this seemed like an insane commitment, but Dickie turned insanity into glory, creating one of the most devastating indictments of war ever told. Now, as a director, he grew more and more accomplished with each movie he made, and over the next 30 years, he made a series of films of which any filmmaker would be proud and also envious. Remember A Bridge Too Far, remember Magic, extraordinary performance by Anthony Hopkins in Magic. Remember Cry Freedom, which made a significant contribution to the actual lifting of apartheid in South Africa. And of course, the extraordinary, extraordinary Gandhi, with the equally extraordinary Ben Kingsley in the lead role. Out of this hurricane of success, he emerged knighted as Sir Richard, and not long after that, Britain conferred on him the title of Lord Attenborough, and now, in the waning days of the 20th century, this Lifetime Achievement Award. If it was anybody but Dickie, you might say slow fade to black. But this is not the period at the end of the sentence. In his 70s, Dickie is full of an energy and a vitality, an unquenchable talent and ambition that actually makes me feel older than him. The British have an undeniable genius for producing genius. Let's look at what you and my friend Dickie have done together in this century.
I think I'm too young to retire.
It's a great honor for me to say these words. Ladies and gentlemen, for his outstanding contribution to world cinema, Richard Attenborough.
I'm a bit not sure about the timing of lifetime achievement. It sort of has a slightly ominous ring to it, with the sort of feeling that somebody's saying, all right, get off, you know, you've done enough. I'm not at all sure that having watched all this, it isn't about time to go. But I had, in fact, intended to go on a bit longer, because there were 2 or 3 things I still want to do. I would also, if I may, like to say how touched and honoured I am and would wish to thank the BBC and, of course, BAFTA, which is so close to my heart, for the honour that they do me tonight. I would like to say thank you to all of you for coming this evening, and I would like to thank my dear colleagues and friends for their extraordinarily generous words. So I will just say thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And there you see, I can do it. There's not a tear in sight.
BBC Two salutes Richard Attenborough's contribution to cinema with a double bill of films. Shadowlands is next, followed by Seance on a Wet Afternoon at 12:50.